Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, awesome. I would like to confirm that you see my screen and hear me okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, good. So my name is Paul Erugami, Managing Director of Max-Migold Limited, your frontline facility management company. We're close to 10 years in operations now, and I think it's been a very interesting period for us looking at the FM landscape in Nigeria and being able to make a bit of an impact with technology, facility management, and training solutions. So I would just like to remind everyone listening to me this afternoon that we are available. We have teams, facility managers that can be deployed at very short notice. We have, we can meet your recruitment requirements. We can solve your energy problems and in monitoring and automation, your smart buildings. We can train your team, and we can provide all the software and technology solutions you need to effectively manage facilities. So Max-Migold is at your service. We can't, say enough of how our journey has been in this last 10 or so years. We've been managing this business in this position. So I'm grateful to God for the experience and for the opportunity to have met all of you who take out time from Thursday to Thursday to engage in these sessions. For us, it's a fulfillment. It's an accomplishment that we can do this and keep it going. When we started the Giving Back series, it used to be a once a year thing. We eventually tried to increase the frequency to twice a year. I think in one of the years we did 3 times, but look how far we've come to every week coming to you with something significant and of value to your profession, to your careers, to your organization's progress. With regards to the FM Mastercraft Diploma that we've announced the bonanza a couple of weeks ago. Get yourself and your networks to enjoy the 200,000 naira, discount that is available this month. There's still a few more days to the end of October, so the earlier you take advantage of this, the better. And the website is maxmigold.com/promo. Type it out, click on it, share that link with your friends and your network, and please be our ambassadors to push it out so that we can get more people to hear and take advantage of these opportunities that we give. And then for all of our other services, we do have opportunities to co-deliver, co-manage, collaborate in meeting the needs of clients that you refer to us. So you not just refer the clients to us and back off. No, we can share with you the experience and the resources in terms of revenue sharing for the business that you bring to us at Max-Migold. Okay, so please give all this information, to all those who are, coming in, and we hope to engage with you more in the coming days. In today's session of the lunch hour, our topic is from gut feeling to data-driven revolutionizing FCA. That's facility condition assessment with smart tech and analytics, equipping facility managers with data-driven insight from facility condition assessments to guide strategic decision-making with precision and confidence. So in essence, what you know as facility condition assessment we're going to be analyzing the why, what, and how of it. And we're going to be, taking you through a journey of how that process should be automated or digitized to the point where you have ongoing data generation, which you can use for strategic decision making and operational enhancement. So that's the whole idea of today's topic. We will be trying to help you understand the principles and purpose of facility condition assessment in modern facility management, recognize the limitations of traditional intuition-based assessment methods, apply data-driven tools and analytics to improve asset visibility and maintenance planning, interpret insights from smart technologies for better budgeting and lifecycle forecasting, align facility condition assessment results with organizational strategy, sustainability, and performance goals. And part of what we're going to be utilizing from the FCA is the Facility Condition Index, which is a numerical representation of the condition of our facilities. So if you do all that assessment and you come up with a report, you do a spreadsheet of works that need to be executed, you now need to use that information to create an index. That index, the formula for creating that index we'll talk about, and how you can use that index for decision making and management approvals we'll also talk about in today's session. Okay. So let's start from the basics. What is FCA? Facility condition assessment is a systematic evaluation of building systems to determine their current state and performance. In other words, we want to know the condition, performance condition, physical states, whatever the composition of that equipment or asset is, we need to know its current state and performance, which is what the condition is for that asset. Why? You cannot manage what you don't know, right? So it's not enough to know that I have a generator or I have a vehicle. Understanding the states or the condition of that equipment is how you create maintenance plan that fits that equipment or asset. I know a lot of people just take up facility management opportunities or roles, come up with a list of things that needs to be done routinely for maintenance scheduling, and just roll with it, right? But an old equipment versus a new equipment cannot be maintained with the same procedures and frequencies. Not possible. If you're doing that, you are destroying the system. Okay. So how do you determine the condition so that you can create a maintenance program that is aligned to its current condition? So that's what we're talking about here. You must be able to identify maintenance needs, repair priorities, and capital investment requirements based on the FCA that was done on it. And then it also provides data-driven insights that support long-term planning, budgeting, and asset lifecycle management. How many times have you been overwhelmed by sudden, I use sudden in parentheses, sudden frequent disruptions or breakdown from an asset? If you are doing FCA right, you realize that the telltale signs of the end of life, symptoms have been ongoing for some time, just that you were not, taking proper data and not analyzing the data. So you end up in a situation where you cross into a new year, an asset that is supposed to have been replaced or scheduled for replacement this year is not on the books for that purpose, and it's giving you all kinds of trouble, right? That is one way management will pin you with incompetence, right? Not being able to see these disruptions or these failures coming. because you were not, collecting data, neither were you analyzing data to see that this is going to happen. Okay. So data-driven insights is what we're talking about here. How do you gather those data, and how do you interpret the data from your FCA to give you a sense of how your asset is doing and what's going to happen next? It's more like being able to see into the future because you analyze the data from the past, which gives you a pattern that you can forecast with or project into the future. That's basically what using the data from your FCA analysis will provide for you. And then so you can make proactive decision about how to manage, maintain, what kind of actions to take to prevent or reduce downtime and unplanned maintenance costs. All of those things that will either come to cost more money eventually or become a drag on the organization, pulling things down because it's just not going to stay working consistently and reliably. It's not an act of God. It's not something that you couldn't have done anything about. You just weren't equipped with the right tools, knowledge, skills, experience to do the right FCA at regular intervals, generate data from that process and use it to make projections on how things are going to behave. And so if you're doing your FCA, for example, on an annual basis, you will see a pattern emerge as the equipment gets older. You will see frequency of failures, meantime between failures. You'll see, performance issues, energy consumption issues, and so many other things that are related to an aging asset. So you can use those data to project what's going to happen next, how long this asset is going to last overall, and what are the steps you need to take in between now and when it's going to pack up to ensure that you can get the best optimal performance out of it. So if your goal is to provide safe, efficient, and facilities that align with operational goals and compliance standards, then you can't do without what we're talking about in today's class. Facility condition assessment backed with intelligent digital solutions and value addition. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're talking about here. So when I say do an assessment, facility condition assessment, it's actually an inspection, right? You're going to take out all of your electrical, mechanical, plumbing, roofing, structural components, list them all out, and do a thorough inspection of each one. Okay. Why am I doing the thorough inspection of each one? Because I want to know their current condition. If I had done this exercise last year, I would have seen that the condition would be different from what I'm observing this time. Those variations or those transitions through that process of depreciation of an asset or performance reduction of an asset, what we call the degradation curve. You can actually put that degradation curve to numbers by doing condition assessment on an annual basis, okay? And so this applies to not only mechanical electrical system, but also to structural civil systems in your facility. Now, one important thing that comes out of this process of the facility condition assessment is what we call the facility condition index. So the facility condition assessment provides several data that are used to compute the facility condition index. For example, every time you pick up on a defect that's causing a performance reduction in an asset, you itemize that defect. You scope what needs to be done to eliminate that defect or restore the asset back to a good condition. You write that amount, or you put a costing for that scope of work, and then you now add a prioritization of how critical that asset or that particular defect is to be fixed. So if it's things that are related to health and safety, can cause injury, very high priority. You can't wait. It has to be done now, right? If it has to do with operational, reducing operational efficiency, leading to loss of money, then you put that priority. If it's something that is compliance related, legal, statutory compliance related, it's a different priority. So by the time you create a priority matrix, you use that to indicate which one I must do first, which one I can leave for later, which one I can leave as part of my CapEx work for next year, and so on and so forth. What I've just done is I've picked up everything related to my facility. I've analyzed them. I've seen all the conditions that they're in, all the repairs required. I've analyzed and I've documented their costs. Now, what I'm going to do next is to compare the cost of repairing and maintaining to the cost of replacing it all together. Because when I do a condition assessment, it tells me where the condition is on a scale of 1 to 100, for example, right? But as I'm looking at that condition, I cannot pinpoint what that scale is. I cannot decide that this equipment is very, very good, not so good, or whatever grade I want to put its overall condition, because I need a kind of a number that once I apply a scale to that number, it is what's going to interpret to me what single word I can use to describe the condition of that asset. That's what the facility condition index is. And the formula is the total repair and maintenance cost divided by the total replacement cost, right? So we call the total replacement cost a current replacement value, CRV. So if I compute all the cosmetic repairs, all the obsolescence upgrades, all the maintenance requirements to keep it functioning, and add all of them up, and then divided by moving off that asset completely and getting a fresh replacement, what ratio am I going to get? It's called an index, can be expressed as a decimal or expressed as a percentage, right? So that's why it's called an index. So the numerator is usually supposed to be smaller than the denominator. So repair should cost less than replace, okay? If you've got into a situation where the cost of repairing is now higher than the cost of replacement, you've broken the scale. Now, so how do you apply this scale? It's 0 to 5% or 0 to 0.05 decimal expression of that number. You say that asset is in good condition. So every time you say, oh, that printer is in good condition, oh, that roof is in good condition, oh, that generator is in good condition, let that word not fall out of my mental evaluation, my intuition, by looking at it, just hearing it. No. That's not what we're talking about. You need to have evidence, an objective way of saying this is in good condition, and it has to have an FCA that is between 0 and 5%. What does this simply mean in layman terms, in everyday analysis? If the cost of repairing an item, replacing components within it, maintaining it to make it fully functional, is more than 5% of the cost of buying a new one, it has to be less than 5% of buying a new one for me to say that asset is in good condition. So if I have an office printer, for example, that someone has said, oh, you can replace it with 1 million naira, or you can repair it, maintain it for 50,000 naira, then I'll say that equipment is in good condition. That's what it means. It's in good condition, right? Now, if I move down to up to 10%, I'll say it's still fair, which means I should still keep maintaining, I should still keep servicing it and keep using it. After all, 5 to 10% is fair. The condition of that asset is fair. But if it goes from 10 to 30%, I can now say that equipment is in poor shape. So have this as a way of supporting your assessment. Let your assessment not just be your gut feeling. Let it not just be looking at how often this thing has broken down in the last 1 week. I think it's in poor shape. No. You have to come with the numbers. Go and scope all the repairs required to bring it to a state where it no longer fails, every week, right? Once you know what it will cost, whether you're going to change some components, whether you're going to repair it and maintain it, and whatever action needs to be taken, if it is greater than 30% of the cost of getting a new one, we say the equipment is in critical condition. It's in critical condition. So equipment like generators that you need to overhaul, for example, may be in critical condition, but you cannot tell until you know the cost of actually overhauling that generator. So if the cost of overhauling it is going to be more than 30% of the cost of getting a replacement equipment, you must conclude that equipment is in critical condition. If it is any less, up to 30% is poor, up to 10% is fair, less than 5%, you say the equipment is in good shape. So facility managers no longer use verbal descriptive words to describe conditions, because you now know how to interpret objectively the condition of the assets that you are managing. Okay. So usually when you want to do a facility condition assessment, you will prepare the spreadsheet where the various components of your building, the various equipment you want to inspect in their various systems is listed. They're all listed. And then you provide a column for describing item, first of all, item, the name of the defect. So I've written the asset's name. I've now put the name of the defect. I'll now put a column for a description of the scope of that problem. A problem has a scope. Then the next column will now be a description of the scope of the solution. So whatever repair is required, I'll put it in the next column, broken down for anybody to understand. So that way, I will be able to use that to estimate the cost of that repair or component replacement, which comes in the next column. So I'll put it, this is the cost of fixing this, right? I'll put it there. Then I'll now add prioritization. On a scale of 1 to 3, on a scale of 1 to 5, how critical or important is this asset, or fixing this asset or restoring it back to full functionality is for my organization. I'll now put that criticality or priority in the next column. Now, what I've just done is laid out an outline for entering information or data. Then I'll go with my team. So let's take a generator, for example. We put it on. We observe the smoke that's coming out of it. We observe the sound level. We observe the vibration level. And we use tools. So we'll capture some of that smoke and send it to the lab for analysis. We put some tool for analyzing vibration, for recording the noise level, for we observe the diesel consumption rates, for its capacity, and so on and so forth. What I'm doing is I'm inspecting and collecting data manually using hand tools, for example, right? So as I pull this data out, I put it in a spreadsheet. For many people, that's where the data dies, and that's the problem we're trying to solve. You need to digitize that data so that the analysis can become automatic, and the results of or interpretation of those analyses should be real time, so that you can use that information to both make decisions about future maintenance and repair activities, as well as projecting and planning future budgets. Okay, so one way you can simplify this process, instead of having that spreadsheet and all of us going out and measuring tapes and data collecting devices, we can have that whole thing worked up, built into an application. An application. So if I get to the site, taking a picture will be the first thing. scanning an asset code or barcode or RFID on the equipment will be the next thing. It opens up the data to that asset, and then I'll scroll to where I want to execute an FCA. Now, that sheet I said you create and form, and then you used to go and do inspection, is now already coded into the software. So it's going to open up, take a picture, upload, write the name of the asset down, do your investigation. You're capturing the data, you're putting the data into the various sections or segments you've already created within the application. And if that application is, geotag enabled, which means it can record the precise location where that facility condition assessment is taking place. Then it verifies that you do not sit down in your office and forge entries into the system. You actually went, you captured the picture, it's saved, you put it on to capture the sound it records. It compares to already entered operational thresholds within the system and gives an interpretation. You put the device close to the equipment to observe the vibration, and the app picks up that vibration. So in essence, instead of me to first put all the information into a spreadsheet, come back and start to analyze that information, if I'm using an application, I can have all of that information captured directly inside there. And you see how applications or softwares work is that they can automate, data analysis and provide insights and decision-making wisdom based on the real-time information you are bringing in. So it's not a matter of going to remember what you observe and what you thought you saw. That's not what it does. It does real-time assessment and analysis. Okay, so now for many of us who are using spreadsheets to create maintenance schedules and maintenance plans, we may not be able to integrate the condition assessment data, correlate it with the maintenance plan or schedule that we have, right? So the best approach would be to use a CMMS, a computerized maintenance management system, where all the things you do as routine maintenance activities on an asset, that data is stored. When you replace a belt, when you replace a compressor, how much it cost, how long it took to replace, when the last one happened, between the last time and this one, meantime between failure, is captured. All your activities on specific equipment are all being recorded. So by the time I come in for a facility condition assessment, and I just scroll to the FCA part and I do a thorough, deep analysis, gather data and put to the system, this system cannot correlate what I've captured as the inspection observations from this facility condition assessment with all the routine maintenance I've been doing over time. So it improves data analysis and asset management. It can give me a more insight because every activity that on that equipment asset is stored within the database of that CMMS software. And then if you have a building information model of that facility, which is an integration of documents and graphical representation of all the components of the building in 3, 4, 5, 6 dimensions, then you have your, what we call a digital twin of your facility. Not very common around here because not many people have moved from 2-dimensional flat drawings to 3-dimensional drawings, let alone embedding quantity information, 4D, embedding maintenance and operations information, 5D, being able to visualize and simulate various conditions of the assets. As an asset is aging, for example, you can actually use AI embedded into BIM model to give a wear and tear simulation of the asset as it goes on. And you can use that information to estimate how much future capital investment will be needed and at what interval to keep the equipment in its pristine state. So this is one level of technology that we have not seen too much of around here. And then you have the IoT sensors and drone inspection. As for drone inspection, this is something that we have done extensively at Max-Migold. You have difficult to reach areas, high-rise buildings, a whole estate. For example, if you have a massive estate or a city and you want to inspect, something as simple as roof. People are complaining about roof conditions across the estate, and you want to do an inspection. You won't have to climb up every building one by one. You can use drone to go there with high definition cameras and you record a video, very slow video of every inch of that surface. And then that is now what is used in the analysis. So the guys who are going to do the condition assessment don't need to go up on that roof. They can just carefully watch that video, highlight and mark areas where they see depressions and where they see loose openings, possible areas where water will go into the building from, or where structural defects on the roof is going to cause leakage that had not probably happened, but will happen in the future. And all of this can be picked, and then somebody goes back to do a scoping of what needs to be done. So as for drones, it's really for moving your eyes into spaces where you cannot reach. And beyond that, we also have robotic tools that can go into crawl spaces, go into ceiling spaces, go into drainages, go into manholes and chambers and shafts of buildings, and crawl through with your eyes, very perfectly with a lamp, seeing everything and bringing information to you. For example, it's possible to have leakage going on in your shafts, and you don't even have a clue that leakage is happening there until your foundation has been affected and you start seeing a crack, or you start seeing green algae growing somewhere before you start wondering what's going on. But if you've been doing condition assessment and you've had a robot that can go into spaces you will not normally get to, you can get that information up front. When it comes to IoT sensors, we can do a lot with IoT sensors. In our recent projects, we have deployed humidity sensors on crawl spaces, in roof spaces. You know how you suddenly start seeing your ceiling becoming wet. You don't know whether it's plumbing piping, you don't know whether it's air conditioning piping, but you've already lost the ceiling before you even knew there was leakage in that space. With a humidity sensor, tiny button we put inside your ceiling, you can get a alert when humidity crosses a certain threshold. Now, if humidity crosses that threshold, it doesn't mean that the leakage has overpowered your facility. Just because the humidity has increased, you are told by that information that something is gathering moisture, condensation around your pipes, for example, or plumbing leaking, just so slightly, that it's not resulting in major damage yet. You can fix that before you even see a single drop on your ceiling because of IoT sensors. We've had in recent projects, we've had thermometers, like tiny button thermometers placed inside the panels. So your DBs, you have DBs on every floor, you have panels outside and in buildings, and you don't have a way of knowing that smoldering is happening, heat is building, fire and smoke, until we have a case like the high-rise building that burned down in Marina. Such things can be taken care of by 20, 30K little button sensors, just pinned. If you buy it, we just take off the sticker at the back and then pin it everywhere, integrate it into an application for you. And it is not just for you to be seeing the temperature, because you'll be seeing the temperature as they rise, as the equipment is being used, the temperature is rising, but you will set the threshold for normal operation, normal temperature, so that sometimes temperature can be high, but it's not really a problem, right? It has not reached a problem threshold. But if you set it and you recognize the temperature at which it becomes a problem, once it approaches that, you get an alert on your phone, you get it in every device that you connect to your application to, and then you can also go beyond that awareness to go and take action to automate the process. So I can actually set it so, okay, so you get me the information, I know that this thing is getting hot, it's going beyond the threshold, but don't wait for me to come and investigate and shut down, because I might be sleeping at home or something might be happening at a time when I can't reach that panel. That panel can be configured with a smart IoT breaker or fuse that automatically trips off once this little sensor, IoT sensor, signifies that temperature has reached a certain stage, and then it trips it off. Now, all of this is predictive analytics, automation of maintenance and repairs, prevention of problems, compliance with health and safety regulations. All of these benefits come to you. But all of the data that is gathered through this process are all, reserved for future reference. So you will know how your highs and lows, whether vibration, sound, whatever you are monitoring with IoTs, including IoT meters now, where you can meter not just the aggregate energy consumption, but also every circuit. So changing your fuses and your breakers with smart ones will give you protection, will give you sensing of energy consumption, as well as other energy use parameters. So you can use those information to make better decisions. And that is condition monitoring real time. Every equipment that uses more energy than it's rated for is because there's a problem within the system. So just being able to trigger a notification when an equipment that should be using just 4 kilowatts is now using 5 kilowatts, for example, right? That notification tells me something is wrong. I need to go and investigate, even if it has not broken down. You can imagine how much good you can do as a facility manager just by having this information because of IoT sensors. And this is one of the strongest points we at Max-Migold provide solutions in the industry. You can solve health and safety issues, prevent costly fires and damage to your assets, reduce your maintenance costs significantly by adopting some of these IoT solutions that we have, including your energy consumption, occupant safety, occupant comfort and convenience. All of this can be monitored and automated. For example, let me give you one simple one that many people just overlook. You want to elevate to that strategic level where you support organization productivity. You can tell how many people are in spaces, so that in case there's an emergency, you will know whether you are fully evacuated. You know, all those manually written registers, some people will not write their names on it. Some have written their names and they have left and they are no longer in the building. You don't have accurate information. Sensors, IoT sensors can tell you how many people are where, real time, so that you can deal with that kind of emergency. You can also have sensors that have sensitivity enough to even detect temperature of everybody in the building. So if somebody is sick and coming with Ebola, you won't infect everybody in the building. We can tell this person's temperature is above the range that we can accept, and we'll fish that person out and quarantine or isolate the person safely for everybody's safety in the facility. There are so many things you can do with IoTs. If I start going into how humidity sensors, temperature sensors, CO2 sensors, air quality sensors, sensors can be used to create hundreds and hundreds of automations and triggers to make your facility world-class. It will be amazing. And these things, their costs are being simplified, considerably. So reach out to us if you have need for stepping up, for improving your FM game, upgrading your organization to that world-class standard in terms of the type of facilities that you provide. We can walk you through simple systems from low cost to high-end solutions. Okay, so I've talked about, how to collect the data, to be from manual approaches or automation. Now we've talked extensively on how data captured automatically into systems are not only accessible, automatically analyzed, and decisions interpretations come out of it, but it stores that information for future reference on an ongoing basis. So you no longer have to go and look for. So if you need a software deployed for your facility, we can develop a custom software, not subscription, not all those ones you go and subscribe and be paying every month. No, you don't have that burden. We'll build it, we'll label it as your company, we host it for you in your own server or computer, and you can begin to run your facilities with it. So this is democratizing deployment of technology. We will not be hanging you, holding on to you to come and paying us on a regular basis. Once your data goes in, it's yours to manage from there. Support will provide, but then will not hold you to a subscription. So that's how our model is for now, if you want software tools to manage your facilities. Okay, so what are the documentation and reporting standards that you should have bear in mind when doing your FCA? Report should include system level breakdown, critical deficiencies, cost estimates, timelines, and FCI scores for assets. So when I was describing the facility condition index calculation with the formula earlier, it sounded as though you need to do just the FCI for the whole defects. No, you are going to do FCI on a line-by-line basis, right? So if an asset has 4 defects and you've quantified the cost of each of those 4 defects, you now add up those costs and then divide it by the cost of replacing that asset. That's your FCI for that asset. You're going to do it asset by asset. And then it's important to have visual representation of what you're describing. Oh, this thing is peeling. Peeling will give different imaginations in people's minds. Take a picture, add it to that assessment and evaluation that you have done. And then for regulatory compliance and strategic value, you have to have a consistent documentation pattern so that every year you are going back to compare what you have acquired this year against what you did previous years, because the language has to flow, and that's the only way you can have traceability of the good work you're doing with your FCA. Well, why do we do this? Maintenance forecasting, budget development, capital improvement planning, dynamic budget adjustment. Many facility managers, create budgets from year to year, and they've never done facility condition assessment once. Most of those budgets they are guesswork. Many of the things that are so important to be done will be missed. You will prioritize funding for things that are not aligned with corporate vision and goals, and overlook things that are very important. You end up coming cap in hand at different intervals because of things that you missed out. If you do comprehensive condition assessments before you do a budget, you are building your budget out of that condition assessment. It is the real way to do budgets, because you not only compute the defects and what needs to be done and the cost of each one, you also prioritize them, so that once you develop a budget and you now have a situation where somebody is trying to cut down your budget or try to say, no, you cannot spend 20 million, you have only 15 million. You are no longer having to use guesswork to decide what items to move out to bring your budget from 20 million to 15 million, right? Because you have prioritized. You know the ones that are compliance related, you know the ones that are health and safety related, you know the ones that are operationally related, the ones that are asset preservation, reputation preservation, and so on and so forth. You rank them already up front before you start doing the budget. So I will try to get away with all that I can get by making my budget in my FCA to bring all my assets or facilities to the very can be, right? But once I start getting pushback from management, say, oh, sorry, we know you have good intention, but we can't afford to spend all of this money in 2026. I'll say, okay, fine. What is the allowable permissions or provisions? I can now use that information to pick out, okay, this one can wait to 2027, go this way. This one can wait to 2027. This one is not very critical. This one is life-threatening, must be done now, and so on and so forth. Now, because I have done that, I now have a very smart budget. No matter how small the amount I'm given is, my budget will make the best use of it, because I have done that budget not out of gut feeling, not out of intuition, not out of looking around me at the most obvious things that I'm seeing, but out of data related to deep investigations and inspections of my facilities. I'm all documented with FCI for every line item. So you can see how you can just become a facilities god or goddess, smart, intelligent, somebody that the management looks up to us, someone who can really move us to where we are going in our organization's strategy for our next level, because of the level of data, the level of analysis that supports what you do. In some cases, they will come back later and say, you know what, we found extra 5 million that was saved from so and so area. We want you to have it as an FM. Once you get that kind of things, you are not guessing where to put it. You pull back out your facility condition assessment documents, you see all your prioritizations, you check everyone's relevance, and then you begin to pick items to fill up whatever has come to you. There have been so many times when we'll have money released because that money should be spent. It shouldn't, if it's left, it will not be coming in the next year's budget. Therefore, we should spend it. And because you don't have an FCA on ground, look, I've fallen into the same situation before. I have used close to 500 million to replace car park because that was the easiest thing that was available to do with it. Car park and painting. Whereas there were places where toilets were not functioning. There were places where door handles were falling apart. There were places where ACs were not functioning. But as at that moment, we didn't have the time to go do an FCA of the facility to scope all those high priority items because they're all small items. And somebody is telling you, spend this money between October and December, or else it will not be part of the budget next year. So the obvious thing that comes to your mind that is around you, you carry that money and you pump into it. And that is recipe for disaster. So you cannot run away from this reality. You cannot manage what you don't know. You cannot continue doing FM work with guesswork. You have to have the data. Your FCA for this year, the one for next year should align, should relate. You should see the trend and the forecast. You should also see how next year's and next 2 years will look like because you have accurate data from the past that you've analyzed and it's throwing up trends to you in what you are doing. So for facility managers, train yourself in FCA. It's a key tool you need. That's why if you come for the FM Mastercraft Diploma, we train you on how to execute an FCA. And one of your 6 projects in the FM Diploma, because you can earn that diploma, is an FCA. And you must do that presentation, right? And then it's important that you have at least a regular schedule. I would say annually. Some people can do it twice a year, depending on how active your facility is. But if you do annually, my recommendation is don't file it off after you've done the analysis based on what you have done on this year. Turn that document into what I call a deferred maintenance log. So every week where you do your inspections and you pick up new things, keep adding them to where your FCA stopped, right? As you're updating into your FCA, as you are filtering items out and resolving them, the list is becoming shorter and shorter, right? So your FCA turns into a deferred maintenance log after you've done all the projects you could get approval to execute. The rest that you could not do immediately after the FCA become deferred. And so every week as you do inspections and pick new defects in your facility, you add them to that deferred maintenance log until next year when you now come to do a deeper analysis from inspection. So get the training, schedule it properly, and ensure that you engage management and the various teams that you serve. Because sometimes people don't really understand how their facility is behaving. You understand it, but all they see is that something is not working now, right? And over time, you cannot connect your budget requests, the data from the facility condition index with their experience, because if you can connect it with their experience, it's possible for them to even be the one advocating for you to get the resources you need to fix things, instead of saying, oh, manage it first. Manage it first. And then when something happens to you, they blame you for something failing because you've not been connecting the dots strategically. And then, of course, we're talking about digital tools in this process. So we're moving away from reactive to predictive, moving from the traditional FCA approach to highly digitized system that incorporates CMMS, IoTs, drones, AI into the data, because most CMMS don't have AI. So now with AI being able to work as agents within your software tools, we can deploy an AI bots into your software to dig that data, understand that data, and be able to fish out and create several levels of analysis for you. And this can change everything about your career, change everything about how you manage, remove all inefficiencies, optimize resource utilization. Real-time analytics will improve response times and reduce operational downtime across facilities. Predictive data supports proactive maintenance, lowering costs and extending asset lifespan. Evidence-based decisions strengthen accountability and demonstrate FM's strategic value this is very important. If you don't have this any way to prove strategic value to the organization, you are dispensable. You can be kicked off anytime. Especially when you know how FMs, because you gain a few experience, you've done some razzmatazz, good deeds, and everybody starts praising you, your salary starts going up. At a certain point, you will no longer be able to justify what you are being paid at the strategic level. So they'll look for a cheaper, younger person to replace you. So you need evidence-based decisions, that supports strategic directions of the organization for you to prove your value. And then performance improves overall as data turns everyday operations into measurable high impact outcomes. So, there's so many things that is wrong with just looking at things and making intuitive decisions. Most times you cannot get approvals, you cannot get support from management. There will be a lot of gap between reality and your observation, because you're not investigating, you're not gathering data about what's on ground. And then you also don't have documentation. You see yourself writing memos and budget justifications that are wishy-washy and watery. And that can become how you are perceived, somebody who's, mostly doing guesswork. And many times when organizations release funds for you to get the project executed because you felt it was needed, you also not have the kind of data to report back that investment was worth it in the first place. So you end up as someone who's wasting organization's resources. Okay, so it's important that we go this data approach to strengthen decision making and build accountability in the work that we do. And then, of course, we build trust and transparency through evidence-based reporting. If I put a report forward and it's all numbers and very objective, nobody wants to question it. Nobody will feel otherwise because I'm not actually feeling, I'm using the data to express myself. And this clear visibility, this clear connection between the numbers and what I'm recommending will make what I recommend get approved more frequently. So if you are in organizations where every time you put something forward, it's not approved, it's KIV, you need to think twice about how you are using data, how you are coming out to the organization. Talked extensively about the softwares, it's important. I know that investment in softwares is a front-end cost. And so it's something that most organizations don't really buy into, except it comes bundled with an outsourced service, or you have an internal team that can build something just for managing requests. But a complete CMMS or CAFM system with AI-powered analytics is what is recommended for environments where you want to go full predictive, be able to defend all your decisions with data, because this system stores everything, analyzes everything. Talked about the sensors, IoT and drones, and all of this gives you real-time data. Interpreting the real-time data gives you all the wisdom you need to speak and be listened to and understood as someone who is making sense and adding value to the organization. Okay, so that's where I'm going to stop in today's session. I usually want to have a few minutes where someone having a question or wants to make a comment can voice that before the end of the 1 hour that we have. Okay, so let me see who's in the room, who has a question or a comment. Okay. So you might just want to volunteer to share one key takeaway that you can implement from what you have learned in today's session. Anyone? Okay, I see Bidemi's hand up. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Paul. Just a quick question. In calculating the FCI, are we using the total cost of repair? For instance, I carried out a repair today, maybe 50,000. In another 3 months' time, I did make another repair, for instance, maybe 100,000. In calculating my FCI, am I putting the entire thing together or just one of the repair cost?
Okay, so the answer is no, you're not adding up past costs. And a facility condition assessment is an assessment of today's condition of the assets. So all the defects I'm picking up now are defects that the equipment has now. And the cost of repairing them to bring it back to a perfect state is what I'm computing now, right? So I'm computing the cost of repairing what is faulty today. Now, the other part of that cost that I need to consider is the cost of upgrading to a modern feel or remove obsolescence. So, for example, I might have a terrazzo floor, right? And there are holes in the terrazzo floor in some places. There is a cost to fill those holes. That's repair cost. But if terrazzo as a floor surface is going into obsolescence, and I need to probably do another layer over it, a polish, what do you call this new finishing they do on floors now over that terrazzo, I will have to add that, right, to the costs that I'm computing, and then use that to divide the cost of scooping everything off and replacing that whole floor. So it's both the cost of repair and upgrade that are due now, not past.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Another hand is up. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for this. I'm really glad I joined the class today. I want to ask, you said in the teaching that for every facility manager, for you to have a very good budget, you must have done a very good FCA.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, because I'm a bit confused around here, that okay, for me to have a very good budget, my FCA must be done every year and must be done thoroughly.
Yes.
So how do I link that with the budgets?
Okay, of course. Once you've done your FCA, you scope all the repairs and replacement that you need to do. You have all the costs. So if I'm doing a budget for next year, now I'm in October, there are so many things that I've picked now that I cannot do with this remaining month's OPEX, that they will go into next year's OPEX or go into next year's CAPEX, right?
Okay.
So based on my prioritization, I'm picking relevant items that should go into the budget. There are some things from my FCA that must be done now, something that's life-threatening or statutorily compliant that must be done now. I want to find way that this year it doesn't carry over, it must be done. So I'll prioritize those one as one. I'll push those straight for work now. Then the rest, I'll prioritize into next year's budget. There are some that may not even fit into next year's budget that I'll have to carry over into the year after that, right? Because I can still push it. That's the idea.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Okay. All right. So on a final note, okay, there's a question here on the chat. How can a small business unit handle smart revolution? I'm an advocate for baby steps, right? Before you get into smart, you must start with survival. Basic operations and maintenance processes must be in place. You must have data. You must have documented processes, whether on spreadsheets or flowcharts or whatever. You must start by doing things right and have paper evidence or a trail that you are doing it right. Then you can now begin to introduce smart technologies in Because when I deploy a software for you, you're going to give me information to fit into it. You're going to tell me how you work. You're going to tell me what you have to manage. You have to tell me the frequency of things you manage, right? So if you are not already doing them right and having documentation, I will not have anything you can give me to upload into the software to automate for you, right? So that's why you must start from somewhere. And then when it comes to the cost of deploying smart technologies, don't wait until you have all the money in the world. If you have just 1 million, look for what we can put together to create a smart solution for your most pressing issue. It may just be diesel monitoring. It may just be energy monitoring. It may just be security control for certain things that are causing security risk. With 1 million, 500,000, you can deploy sensors to do certain things and get results and then begin to add value upon value from there. Bukola?
Okay, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Okay, so I think I raised this a long time ago before I actually stopped. I wanted to find out. So about FCA, okay, so let me the facility I'm talking about now is a tent. Right, so it's a tent and not a complete tent. It's tent above and then glass beneath. Okay, so right now we're having a lot of problems now that we have that it's raining season because with the wind and everything, of course, the glass will move. It's been there for like 14 years now. And all that, and you have rain coming in. Even right now, we have issues with the children area where it's usually flooded when it rains. Now, the tent has been fixed a couple of times, like 2-3 times, and people are saying, oh, okay, you've done that before because of the wear and tear and then the years, right? So we're not able to mend it or fix it again. We need a new one completely. But right now, so I just want to ask, do we have anybody who majors in maybe tent building and all that? Because basically that's what we're looking for now. And then we're looking for somebody also who builds stage. And then over time, we need somebody with our electricity. I know I can always contact you for that, but basically for now, we need to save that facility itself. So that's why I'm asking if we have anybody who does that. And for a tent, I don't know how you want to complete, because right now you're talking about budgeting. I know I went online one time just to check with the we took our measurement and all that, nothing less than maybe 15M to replace that. And where the facility is right now is something we're trying to buy, right? We've done like half of it, and then we're looking at, building our own facility. But before you even go ahead to do that, Red, you want to maintain what you have right now and see can you use that facility itself to generate money, maybe to begin to use it for like an event place. So, but we have to fix it. So that budget is huge, right? So what do we do now? Because we need someone to fix that tent. We can't get anybody who sends everybody. You can tell you, oh, we don't fix tent, we only install. So buy new tents and then we install. So we're in the fix.
Yeah, really. So let's have a conversation. Chat me up and see. Let's have a conversation on a possible advisory I can give. Maybe I can able come and do some inspection and give you some ideas on what you can do immediately. Okay.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for making the time. See you again next week, Thursday, and have a good rest of the week. Don't forget, the FM Mastercraft Diploma 26, starting January 12th, is already filling up. Bring in your friends, come in if you've been on the sideline for all these years and taste in the FMD designation and the value it brings to your career. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Paul.
you very much, Mr. Paul.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Has this started?
Thank you, boss.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, boss.
Boss, thank you. A nice one, sir.
Thanks.
Paul, I joined your class today.
Boss of all bosses.